The level of intensity in college baseball right now is unlike ever before, from bat flips to crash outs on the mound, and it ranges from mid-majors all the way to the most renowned programs in the country. One moment, it's a 100-mile-an-hour fastball in Athens. The next, a beer shower in Oxford. In fact, today, college baseball is so loaded with fireworks, some believe the sport in its current state may actually be unsafe for players. After all, a baseball beaming for your head at 120 miles per hour does warrant some concern. But this points to something bigger, an overwhelming shift in the sport. Fastballs topping at 100 and exit velocities threatening 120. Numbers that once would have been extraordinary to see are no longer outliers. They've become routine, even at the amateur level. Just this year's opening weekend alone saw both. And Xavier's Clay Burdetti's elite exit velo posted at 118 miles per hour, and an arm from UGA touching triple digits. In this opening weekend alone, 47 baseballs were hit at exit velocities exceeding 110 miles per hour. In comparison to the entire MLB season, which only saw 165 hitters reach this same number. At this pace, college baseball will have more hits hit above 110 miles per hour in just 1 month than in the entire MLB season. Go back in time just 10 years. A college pitcher breaking 95 miles per hour was cause for celebration. Fast forward to now, and you have a whole generation of pitchers casually reaching the same number. An idea that even has former college players, now coaches, people that have been in college baseball for decades, like Tony Vitello, in awe. So just how did college baseball get here? Sure, advances in training are one thing, but that can alone explain to the unprecedented rate of talent growth we are seeing. It's widely suggested that just a decade ago, the average fastball velocity in Division I was somewhere around 85 through 88 miles per hour. Well, just last year, programs like LSU and Tennessee clocked an average pitch velo of 94 miles per hour. How did so many programs, big and small, end up with crazy amounts of athletes that rival Major League Baseball metrics? Is this a breakthrough for the sport, or a warning sign that college baseball is moving into dangerous territory? And just what does all of this mean for the basis of college baseball in the future of MLB? Well, it wasn't just baseball that changed, it was the entire world. In a moment where the literal world and life itself seemed to stop, ironically, the growth of baseball was pushed into overdrive. And all that traces back to one defining moment, to COVID-19. The COVID-19 pandemic didn't just disrupt daily life, it rewrote the trajectory of baseball. It upended routines, cut careers short, and threw an entire generation of athletes into uncharted territory. While COVID-19 held many businesses to a standstill, the sports entertainment industry was one that miraculously found a way to maintain. The NFL emptied stadiums with cardboard cutouts of fans, the UFC fighting events with social distancing implemented, and of course, who can forget the NBA's bubble experiment? Even Major League Baseball managed to salvage a season of competition. But while professional leagues found creative ways to keep the lights on, minor league baseball wasn't so lucky. Before COVID-19, minor league baseball, or Major League Baseball's farm system, operated with 14 leagues across 5 different levels. It's where drafted players proved themselves, climbing the ranks until they were ready for the big leagues. But when the pandemic hit, these minor league teams faced the same brutal reality as many other small businesses. Unlike their MLB parent clubs with TV deals and sponsorships, minor league teams depended almost entirely on in-person revenue, ticket sales, concessions, and promotions. For them, no fans meant no income. Add in quarantine protocols, testing costs, and travel restrictions, and keeping these teams afloat became nearly impossible. So like any other business in a financial crisis, many of these minor league teams saw rounds of cuts, letting go of players, coaches, and dropping some teams altogether. Jeremy Randolph, a once promising pitcher from the University of Alabama, had his professional dreams cut short when his minor league team made pandemic-driven cuts. Drafted with the hopes of climbing the ranks, he was released just 11 months later, left without a team, a paycheck, or a clear path forward. Tryouts for his former roster spot were uncertain. Opportunities vanished, and like over 1,000 other minor league players, his shot at the big leagues disappeared virtually overnight. The sport moved forward and left so many others behind. The dream he had spent a lifetime chasing was over before it ever truly began. Furthermore, shortly after the height of the pandemic in February of 2021, Major League Baseball announced a complete restructuring of the minor league system, only bringing back a smaller 11 leagues across 4 different levels. And with MLB owners feeling the financial strain, they would even push for a shorter draft. As more players you select, the more you have to pay, slashing the draft from 40 rounds we saw in 2011 through 2019 to just 5 in 2020, before settling on a more practical 20 rounds in 2021.
I would say the pressure is on you more to not swing and miss than any of the kids that you're taking this year.
Compare that to the 50-round drafts of the early 2000s, or the ridiculous 100-round draft of 1996. And all of these changes play a key hand in painting the picture for amateur levels. With fewer spots in the minors and a significantly smaller draft, making a professional baseball roster is now tougher than ever before. A late-round draft pick in 2019 today, well, that player likely goes undrafted. Mid-round prospects from 2012, they'd barely make the cut. Even elite high school phenoms, once drafted straight off the high school playground, are now being seen as a risk rather than the hidden gem. So, high school stars once fast-tracked into the farm system had nowhere to go. College baseball became their next best option. At the same time, undrafted college players stayed longer, creating a talent surge like never before. And right now, well, we're seeing the results play out in real time. But making professional baseball far more selective isn't the only factor at play. While the pandemic may have put seasons on hold, advances in biomechanics, data analytics, and new training methods continue to accelerate talent development as it has done in the past. And well, innovation doesn't just stay at the top, it trickles down to the amateur levels as well. As a result, college programs across the country are now mirroring MLB franchises in their approach to player development. Motion capture technology, AI-driven pitch analysis, TrackMan, hit tracks, specialized strength programs, you name it. All of these are helping turn amateur athletes into pro-ready prospects faster than ever before. But not everyone is on board with this trend, because now that MLB teams are drafting more players that are already posting big leaguer metrics, the farm system is no longer a slow, brutal grind. It's a sprint, fueled by technology and analytics. The question for minor leaguers has shifted from what can you do metrically, rather than what have you done in games. A decade ago, players spent an average of 5.5 years paying dues in the minors. Today, that number is nearly half.
When I broke in 14, the average service time was 5.5 years. Around our last CBA, it was 3.5. As of last year, it dipped under 3. So guys aren't even getting 3 years anymore.
And just because the sport has evolved doesn't necessarily mean the human body has, as the strain and overall force exerted on the body has no doubt increased in order for these athletes to reach such extraordinary metrics. A concern that has been the prime suspect for the recent increase in injuries seen across the world of baseball. But then again, with limited professional spots today, players are essentially forced to teeter that line, almost in fear of being left behind. And if college baseball continues at this pace, the gap between amateur and pro ball will only get smaller. Because college baseball isn't just changing, it's redefining what's possible. So what happens when the dust settles? Are we simply witnessing the golden age of talent development? Or is the game evolving so fast that it's becoming dangerously unbalanced? One thing is for sure, the sport has entered uncharted territory. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed. And hey, if you want more stories like this, I got one for you right here. And oh, you can subscribe if you want even more.